I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music. Today, we're going to do a little bit of an offbeat, world beat type of album. 2010 still, by a band called Konono No.1?
No, it's number one.
It's number one. This was a request by a fan of, I wouldn't call him a fan yet, maybe. We'll sell him on this album, maybe. He watched our Harvey Milk episode, which we got a lot of shit for because we pretty much panned the album, and a lot of Harvey Milk mavens out there did not like that. And Chris was nice enough to give us another chance and request some albums, so we're honoring him with a pretty interesting request, which Konono No.1, Assume Crash Position from 2010. This is African World Beat, and I gotta tell you, I've not had much experience with African World Beat, a little here and there, but this was a blast for me. I really enjoyed it. Tom, I know you did some research on the history.
Yeah.
Hit him with that.
Well, this band has actually been around for a long time. From what I read, even back as far as the 70s, maybe even earlier, in some form or another. Now, back then, this kind of thing wasn't really being recorded for the pop market all that much. And I mean, this still isn't for the pop market, but I mean, anymore you can get music anywhere.
That's
Think
right.
about back in the 70s.
They sell it at Starbucks. I mean, not this, but, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad that this is available to people because I don't have too much experience with world music, but I like to listen to it every now and then, and it's a genre that's hard to get into specific artists because there aren't a lot of specific artists that last for a long time. Really, the most that I've listened to is Ane Palacio and the Garifuna Collective. I have some stuff of that, and I mean it's fairly similar. But these guys are doing some things that are different. I like just the concept of what they do. From what I read, they create a lot of the instruments just out of junk. Actually, pretty much all the instruments are out of junk from junkyards. They make speakers from car alternators and stuff like that, and to power them. And wow, how resourceful and just how cool is that? Really awesome little quirk about the band. Pretty much from what I read, everything is like that besides the electric bass that they bring into the songs. So they're doing something different with world music, and that's what really Assume Crash Position to me is all about, is them blending these traditional African kind of tribal aspects with more modern production techniques and instrumentation. That's really what it comes down to, is really cool about it, because I mean, one thing is they really evolve these songs and they'll just go on a complete tangent and then come back to where they were maybe 6 or 7 minutes before. I mean, some of these tracks are, you know, upwards of 10 or 11 minutes long, and that's what you'll get with a lot of world music like this, because, I mean, where it comes from is people sitting around in drum circles, drumming for half an hour at a time with rhythms that don't necessarily line up. You know, maybe they will every 3 or 4 or 5 measures, but they don't care. It makes these cool big rhythms. I mean,
and it's all about the rhythm.
Exactly, and they do that for like half an hour at a time. Now, I like that they're able to stay true to that notion, but still toning it down enough to make an album out of. That's just another example of how they're taking that tradition and combining it with today's music aspects. Also, the way this is produced, it's very mid-range and high-end, I thought.
Yes.
The drums don't necessarily sound big and hollow and thick, and maybe that's just because they're using a lot of stuff from junkyards and salvaged parts, but it also does say something for the production techniques that they're doing.
But it still sounds full because they're using their drumming. It's not like you would hear in like a pop or a rock song where it's a certain beat. It's, I mean, these are cadences you're hearing. These are crazy rhythms, and it's world beat. That's what it is.
But it's got that classic call and response type vocal style, but while still maintaining a lot of memorable melodies, I would say.
Very memorable and catchy, to the point of, even though I can't understand what they're saying, I was still tempted to sing along at a lot of parts, and I really liked that. And Tom, one thing I noticed that you commented is part and parcel with the style, but I think transitions very well to an album feel, since that's what we review here at VIMTV, is how you'll hear melody lines and the different sort of vibraphone sounds that they're playing. Obviously, it's not a vibraphone, that they're making it out of trash, but it sounds like one. And how they'll keep these melodies going, or vocal melodies, and then you'll see these parts pop up in the following song. In the subsequent song, they'll then reference that and then change it some. And so what you have is this trickle-down feature, and allows the album to maintain fluidity and roll along. And I really like that, and on a big album with big long tracks, that's really helpful to keep the listener involved.
For sure, and they do a great job of that.
Now, you mentioned how there's not a lot of low end. The production seemed very, very indie to me. Probably not intentional, but you know what? I still think it kicked butt, because I tell you what, I loved how it just captured. It made their sound 3D and live, and
that's what you want out of something like this.
Very aesthetic.
It's gonna fall flat.
The last track, I'm not even gonna try. Track 8. It had, you could hear people talking in the background that were clearly unrelated to what was going on in the music and the rhythm. And it just makes it sound so authentic, and that's exactly what you want with something like this. And I really, really enjoyed that. I found this to be quite fun to listen to, and I could listen to this over and over again.
Very fun, enjoyable album. There's one thing that I hated about this album, and that is the whistling.
Really? I liked that.
Are you serious?
I liked that.
I hated the way I'd just be enjoying it, and all of a sudden, I'm like, why are you doing that?
See, but I don't know. Maybe I like that for personal reasons, because they did that a lot in Belize, which actually there's a Garifuni kind of culture in Belize too.
Oh, really?
that they do a lot of stuff like that, and so there's a lot of whistling there, and so maybe that's why I've been.
In any music, I don't care what. I cannot think of a single time where you can justify having a whistle.
Well, Tom, I know on our next song that we write what instrument we're going to incorporate. Which, by the way, the song at the intro and outro to this video is the only song Tom and I have officially written.
By the time this is up, it will be available to download.
It's called Straight Jacket.
It's quite an experience. But I just, now someone's probably going to go to my top albums list and call me a hypocrite, because they'll find like 3 albums that have whistling in them that I just haven't even thought about, but I just can't think of any reason to justify it. My only other complaint about this album, and this isn't really as much of a complaint as it seems like them not realizing their full potential. You know, they do such a good job of blending everything. I would have liked them to take it a step further. Even incorporate some more modern things in there, but not take away from any of the classic stuff. Maybe just on particular tracks. I think that would have made this a lot more interesting. But at the same time, for what it is, for this world music, I really like it.
What did you give it?
Do you want to pick tracks first?
I guess we can try. I kind of like the middle of the album, 4 and 5. It's kind of a 15-minute piece of the album right in the center that I thought just had some really cool. I thought there was some guitar in there, maybe. Yeah. And then I thought some cool riffs. If it wasn't guitar, cool strings, it surely sounded like it. It was awesome.
I'm going to pick tracks 1 and 7. I think Wombanzanga and Konono No.1 or something like that.
Yeah, that was the one. Track 7 was the one I really felt like you could sing along to, which I loved.
Those are 2 really cool, lots of cool bass going on there.
What do you give it?
I'm going to give it a 78. This is very enjoyable to me.
I'm going to meet you there. I was going to go 77, but I think we'll just settle on 78. I thought this was solid, and I really enjoyed it. I'm going to come back to it. So.
Thank you for the request.
Absolutely. Hopefully you realize, Chris, that and everyone else who watched the Harvey Milk episode, that we're not just going to pan everything that's good. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.